Hello and welcome to Kingston Now. I'm Jimmy Buff. This week we'll meet Rick Shashensky and hear about his work as a music therapist. We have filmmaker John Enkeley to talk about his climate change film, The Wisdom to Survive, and we start with Samantha Lowe from Astor Services for Children and Families, a community-based nonprofit organization that provides children's mental health services, child welfare services, and early childhood development programs. Hi Samantha, welcome to Kingston Now.
Thank you.
That's a lot of stuff that the Astor Services provides for people.
It definitely is. We've been around for 60 years. We were founded in 1953. It was just a really small program run by nuns out of Catholic Charities in Rhinebeck, and now we have over 34 locations.
And you have two sort of residential facilities, the one in Rhinebeck and one in the Bronx?
We actually only have one residential program, and then the rest are community-based. The only one residential program is out of Rhinebeck, right on the main street.
And the services that I listed in the opening, in your intro, are they provided by government agencies too? What's the difference between that and what Astor does?
Well, we're only partially funded by the federal, state, and local governments. So what separates us is we have a little leeway in the approaches we can take. So for instance, if we want to try out an art therapy program, we can definitely do that. We don't have to go through the specific bullet points that are given when we get federal grants. So I guess what I said is the art therapy program. That's a really great example. About a few years ago, we decided to take in a local artist from Rhinebeck, and he works with the kids every year. And he does these really wonderful programs where it's by an artist named Richter. So it's all about like paint what you feel, and it's emotional. And you can definitely see the depth in which it affected the kids because they started out with these really dark and emotional pieces. And with a year of doing it, they were all colorful and bright and happy. And the kids really talked about how it really impacted them and helped them display their emotions in ways that weren't by anger or by force.
So tell me about the kids in the programs. Where do they come from? What are the issues they're challenged by?
So it's a wide range of things that we see. So we see kids who were maybe sexually abused at home and need counseling, or we see kids who aren't developing on the same track in regular public schools, so they need some assistance in that way. So the kids in our residential program are really extreme. They can no longer be in a public school system or at home, so they need a 24-hour intensive program. Kids who maybe a parent has died or a friend has died and they just need counseling. They just need a therapist to sit down and talk to them, so we have counseling programs. So it's a wide range. And then we have the preschool, so that's for kids that's for low developing kids who need help.
You are the program manager, and so that means you're in charge of some special events and special things like the Adopt a Family program that you've got going on now. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, every year we take a list of our neediest clients. We serve about 6,000 children and families every year. This year we have about 1,100 enrolled in our Adopt a Family program. So every year we get a needs and a wish list. So that's things like underwear, socks, clothes, winter boots, jackets that they need. And then wish lists can be very typical of some of our teenagers want like iPod and music. And then some of the little kids want developmental toys, or Justin Bieber has been a big one this year. But so we take that, and then we work with donors from all over the region, and they adopt our kids and our families for the season, and they help them have the holiday that everyone deserves.
It's tough too because there's so much pressure around the commercialism of Christmas.
Absolutely.
And if you're a child, you don't really know the difference of that. You just feel
Absolutely.
left out if you're not part of.
Yeah, I mean, as adults, we kind of recognize, and I feel like we slowly wean off of like getting presents from people because we recognize that it's really about the spirit of the holiday and not so much about the gifts. But we all remember being a 5-year-old and being really excited when we saw presents under the tree with our names on it, and then being from Santa and getting all excited. So our motto is every child deserves a childhood, and that's one of the key things about childhood is getting that quintessential holiday experience. So that's what we're trying to offer to our clients.
So if someone wants to participate in this, how do they do that?
So they can contact me, and after that we match them, and then we go forward. It's really easy. Or they can go on our website and they can just send us an email through our website asking to participate, and then we match them within 24 hours.
And what kind of commitment are people, what are you looking for? Is it an entire family or?
It's whatever they can do. We totally understand that it's been really hard economically on a lot of families in the area. So if someone tells me that they can only take one child, that's fantastic. I'll give them one child. If they can say they can take 5 children and their parents, that's even better. It's really whatever you can supply. We don't expect you to be able to buy every single thing on the needs and the wishes list because we know it's impossible. Some kids dream big.
Now, you also do a year-long program, which is Adopt a Classroom. What's that?
Yeah, we're actually piloting that this year. Back in April, with the sequestration cuts through the federal government, we lost a significant amount of budgeting money in our Head Start programs. So we really had no choice but to try to supplement that in a different way. So we came up with an Adopt a Family, an Adopt a Classroom program. We found that a lot of people wanted to continue the spirit of giving after the holidays, so we thought this was fantastic. What it does is it supplies the basic educational needs for a child. So it's $200 a year for a single child in our Head Start program, and then it's $4,000 a year for an entire classroom.
And you have a holiday event coming up too, right? A
We
fundraiser?
we do. On December 8th from 9 to 3, we have our St. Nick's Holiday Fair, which takes place in the residential program in Rhinebeck, and it's wonderful. There's handmade crafts, delicious food. We get food from the culinary every year. We have these amazing raffles that we're giving out, and then baskets. We have a basket coming from Adams. It should be amazing.
Well, terrific. You're doing great work at the Astor Services.
Yeah,
Thanks
it's
for stopping
wonderful.
by and telling us about it.
Thank you.
You're watching Kingston Now. Next, it's filmmaker John Ankley, whose climate change film, The Wisdom to Survive, is coming to the Rosendale Theater December 4th. Welcome back to Kingston Now. Joining us now is filmmaker and part-time Hudson Valley resident John Ankley to talk about climate change and his new film, The Wisdom to Survive. Welcome to Kingston Now, John.
Thank you, Jimmy.
The wisdom to survive sort of echoes the last line of what is known as the Serenity Prayer, right? Which is the wisdom to change. Was that intentional? I'm curious.
Well, the Serenity Prayer, the knowing what we're able to change and knowing what we're not, and then being able to tell the difference.
Right.
So yes, wisdom is definitely, the line actually comes from a poem by Wendell Berry. If we will have the wisdom to survive, then, and the poem goes on to lay out how life will be, you know, the best that we know of what our life has been in terms of our relationship to nature, an appreciation for nature and feeling ourselves to be a part of nature. But it's if we will have the wisdom to survive. So the film is very much a call to action out of a sense of urgency.
Right, you start with the supposition that it's happening, which many people, most scientists believe that climate change is happening. And so what do we do now? Are we going to do what we need to do to survive?
Exactly, but we do have the climate science in it. We don't just assume that. We present the case for climate change through the eyes of scientists who are involved in the issue and who have become very committed to doing something about it because they themselves see that this is really a matter of life and death.
What do we need to do to survive?
The call to action really in part comes through the arts, through poetry, music, art, which we incorporate into the film. There is a cellist in the beginning, Eugene Friesen, who's part of the Paul Winter Consort, and they've gone out and listened to the songs of the whales, the humpback whales, and they've recorded that music and come back and made music in response to it. And in the film, it opens up with whales and Eugene Friesen playing in response to the song of the humpback whale. And he's quoting Dostoevsky to say, it's beauty that will save the world. And so that's our really starting point, that if we can appreciate what we really have, we'll be, first of all, realize that we're not separate from it. And second of all, we'll be engaged in a way where we realize that the future of the earth is really our future. That the forests, for example, are the lungs of Mother Earth, you know, and we're related to Mother Earth. You know, we are her children. In fact, we had a subtitle, a working title for a while, which was "Call the Children, the Mother is Dying."
But your subtitle now is Climate Change, Capitalism, and Community.
Yes.
What about the middle one, capitalism? Because that seems to be what's driving the cling to fossil fuels, for instance.
It is. It's the point is that the choices we make favor the corporate world, favor the fossil fuel industry, and that we need to look again at that, look again at our priorities. The fact that we would commodify the air we breathe, by privatizing it and selling it in the form of carbon trading and these kinds of solutions, really are not going to get us out of the fix. It hasn't up to now, and it won't. And so we need to critique our present system of unregulated markets, unfettered capitalism, and not be so naive as to think that the way things are now will save us. It's this industrial growth model that the film deals with through some economists and others who are able to really open that up, that whole discussion. It's one that we normally stay away from, critiquing capitalism, because it's thought to be subversive if you do that. And yet, from our point of view, it isn't. We've reached a point where we really need to look at how we've organized our, the system of wealth and prosperity and all, and really redefine what wealth means. Is wealth just having more and more stuff and producing more and more? Or is there another kind of wealth that comes out of relationship and things that are more, meaningful?
The film is going to screen at the Rosendale Theater on December 4th.
Yes, December 4th at 7 p.m., although we're hoping we'll get a good crowd out. One of the reasons we're premiering it here at Rosendale Theater and in Ulster County is because of the number of activist groups and people who already have this concern. And so we're hoping to bring them in, and because we think the film will move the discussion farther. It's not just what you already know, but it's putting together these pieces of climate science, economics, and even a spiritual dimension, because our assumption is that Mother Earth is crying out for help, and the only way we can really hear her is through our spiritualities. So whatever tradition we come from, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism in particular, in this film, we see that there is a wisdom inherent in those traditions that can inform what we do as we look for solutions.
Terrific. John, thanks for coming by and telling us about it on Kingston Now.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jim.
This is Kingston Now. Next, we explore music and creative arts therapy with Rick Soshensky. You're watching Kingston Now, and with us is the director of Hudson Valley Creative Arts Therapy Services, Rick Soshensky. Hi, Rick. How are you?
Hi, Jimmy.
So you founded the company, right? You founded the organization?
Yes.
What was the impetus for that?
Well, I've been working in the field of music therapy for about 20 years now. Various institutions, hospitals, all kinds of programs and situations. And I always had it in mind to start my own project and have my own vision. I used to live in New York City, and me and my wife used to come visit up here for weekends and so forth. And when we had children, we decided to settle here. And I don't know, I just felt that this was the right place and the right time to do it. I actually was working at Northeast Center for Special Care, which is in Lake Katrine, for a number of years. That was my first position up here in the Kingston area. I was the director of the arts programs there, and anyway, that went on for a little while. It was quite a great situation, and when that ended, it felt like it was the right time to, establish myself here as an individual presence rather than working for another organization. And that's what I've done, and I found it to be fantastic. And the Kingston is not a big town, but it's not a small town. It's kind of right in between, so you can really have that city atmosphere, and at the same time, you can really get to know people in a way that, you really can't where I was from, New York City, get to know the mayor and things like that. That's sort of inconceivable in New York City, unless you're like super rich kind of guy.
Or get through his bodyguard somehow.
Right. So, you can really start to, be part of the community, which I just love feeling like I'm part of the community.
So music therapy and art therapy, basically, what are they? I mean, you're dealing with clients who have some sort of challenge, some sort of developmental challenge,
yes.
right?
Yes, usually some form of challenge, something that is keeping a person from having sort of a normal mainstream, which of course we all have to some degree. Nobody's, fully out there being happy all the time and doing everything they want to do. But then of course some people, have more, larger challenges. Certainly people with disabilities, diagnosed disabilities like autism or mental illness or developmental disabilities, whatever the case may be. So in music and art therapy, well, just to very quickly talk about it neurologically, they have discovered that the brain responds holistically to music. I'll stick with music. There is no music center in the brain, or not even like, the audio center where you receive it, but it actually, kind of filters through the whole brain neurologically. And it might be the most holistic neurological activity that we are aware of in, humanity. So what that does is it helps people who might be sort of limited in one area, might be language, might be, if you have brain injury, there's area of damage, but then the brain is so involved with music that it can sometimes help a person get through areas where they're stuck, and therefore help them make some progress in areas that they wouldn't be able to make progress because of their disability. You can help people with autism to speak. Sometimes if somebody's very seriously autistic, you might not be able to help them to speak, but you can help them, be more socially involved and happier and longer periods of attention, whereas before very unfocused kind of attention from here to there, and not able to really create the human relationship as well. So these types of things that are all part of music, the communication, the connection, and the whole brain is involved. And also, the emotional brain is involved. You might have a person who cannot speak because of Alzheimer's, and they can sing. That is common, typical, and it's because the music is going through the whole kind of system. It's not just coming through the area that's damaged or the speech centers, you might say. It's something else, and that's how music therapy works. Actually, it sort of engages the person in this holistic way that bypasses their areas of limitation, and then they grow. Then they have the actual experience in life of something that they are not doing. In other words, a person who's I work with a fellow who's got very severe autism right now. He couldn't sit still for 5 seconds, He had very poor social abilities to interact and so forth. And, so that becomes his knowledge of who he is in life. Then now he can, sit for an hour, half hour, whatever, play music with me, be socially connected. His idea of who he is changes and expands. And also the ideas of the people around him of who he is begins to change and expand as well, right? So it kind of works concentrically. The person's identity changes, the view of other people around them changes, and then, suddenly the person is just a little bit more in life in a better way.
Which is a perfect description of the benefits of music and art therapy.
Yes.
So thank you. It must be an extraordinary experience, though, to sit down with someone for the first time and they're almost non-communicative, and then you work with them and over time get to that place.
Yes, it is miraculous, and that's why I've been doing it for over 20 years, and it's so much fun. It's a work, because you are working against these resistances, based on people's, issues. But then when you get past that somehow, it's like, wow, where did that come from? And, me as the music therapist, as the facilitator, I can try and set up conditions to help that to happen. But when it does happen, it's not really me. It's this engagement in music that creates this phenomenon that takes somebody somewhere else. And it's so inspiring and so uplifting. And that's why I love it so much.
Remarkable. It's amazing stuff. Thanks for telling us about it, Rick.
You're welcome.
That's it for this week's show. Thanks to Samantha Lowe. To find out how you can adopt a family for the holidays or adopt a classroom for the year, go to astorservices.org. Thanks to John Ankeli. To see the trailer for his film, The Wisdom to Survive, go to filmsforaction.org. And to see it in person, go to the Rosendale Theater on December 4th. And thanks again to Rick Krzyzewski. Remember, all of our previous shows are available on our YouTube channel, and you can find that link on our Facebook page. For Kingston Now, I'm Jimmy Buff. We'll see you next time.